Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Tiffany, chiropractor and holistic health and life coach. Today I'd like to talk to you about spiritual causes. Did you know that any disease, disorder, ailment, or illness that manifests in your physical body has a spiritual root or a spiritual cause? I'm sure that you probably have never thought about it in that light. But let's just dissect a couple of different spirits that are not of God and see what happens when they manifest in our physical body. Let's take fear, for example. The Bible tells us 365 times to not fear, right? God tells us do not fear. So when you are fearful, think about what happens in your physical body. Right, your heart rate will start to increase. If you remember or can think back to being a child, you may have used the bathroom on yourself, right? What happens to the body is what we call fight or flight. So in layman's terms, that means that your body has shut down normal operation because it's trying to survive, right? So if you were a child and you used the bathroom on yourself, your urinary system was affected. When your heart rate increases, your cardiovascular system is affected, right? And what happens when our heart and blood vessels are not working properly? You can have a heart attack, and die. But there are also other implications or things that can occur that may not be as detrimental. So all in all, your body is fighting to survive, and in that case, the chemicals that are normally released and the normal function of your body ceases. So when the normal chemicals aren't released over an extended period of time, what kind of chemicals do you think are released? Well, they're just simply called toxic chemicals or toxins within our body. So what happens when toxic chemicals are released? When toxic chemicals are released, it triggers our pain receptors, which are called nociceptors. What is fibromyalgia? Widespread pain that they don't have a reason as to why it occurs. Well, I can tell you why. It's from those toxic chemicals that are being released, triggering those nociceptors or those pain receptors due to fear. So the reason why it can't be treated from a medical perspective is because the Bible tells us that by His stripes we are healed. So you can't heal something that is not from God or that God tells us not to do with something else that is not from God. You essentially have to go to God, right? And get to the root of that fear and work to release it. So fibromyalgia is one example. And with the root cause being fear or the spirit being fear. What about jealousy? What about coveting, right? The Bible tells us that jealousy rots the bones. So if there is a spirit of jealousy, it can manifest as osteoporosis, arthritis, different types of bone cancer, right? When you get to the root of it, and it does require heavy work and you have to be willing to peel back a lot of layers, but the root of the bone issue could be jealousy or coveting, right? Because the Bible is clear as to what happens when we operate in those spirits. Lastly, and one that affects Americans the most that we are currently seeing is gluttony, right? So we know that gluttony, simply defined, is overindulgence. We are the most unhealthiest country in the world. Our portion sizes are astronomical. Obesity is probably at an all-time high in both, adults and children. The children are eating more and they're more sedentary. Adults are also more sedentary and they're not as active. So when we are overindulging and we become obese, what does that lead to? Well, obesity leads to metabolic syndrome, which is defined as a cluster of conditions that increases the risk of developing heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension issues. So with diabetes, what can happen? We can lose our eyesight, we can lose limbs, right? Eventually, it can cause death over an extended period of time. Heart disease, which can be due to high cholesterol, right? So the person may have to have a stent put in, or they may have to undergo heart surgery, right? So heart disease or cardiovascular disease, diabetes, which is very, very, very prevalent in the African American community, as well as hypertension, which is also very prevalent in the African American or Black community, are all caused by or can be associated with the root spirit of gluttony. We overeat. Everything that we do to celebrate is associated with food in some type of way. And when you go to a celebration, you don't expect to see fruits and vegetables, or anything of that sort. It may be there, but you're more than likely to go for the cake, for the cookies, for the soda, right? So the spirit of gluttony is one that has taken over not only the Black community, but the United States as a whole. And as a result of that, our bodies are suffering, and it is leading to disease, which leads to death, right? If you don't take care of your body, because our body is a temple, what happens? Our lifespan is shortened, right? We want to be able to experience that longevity and optimal health. So I encourage you to think about the spiritual causes. I've listed just 3 of many. Those spirits being fear, right? Jealousy or coveting, and gluttony. But there are several other spirits that can be connected to the physical manifestation of dis-ease, which leads to disease in our body. So I hope that this video was informative. I hope that you learned something from it. And most importantly, I hope that it encouraged you to dive deeper and think a little harder. Until next time, heal holistically, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye.